Tap in with me. Is your mic used for spoken word, music, comedy, or podcasts? Why don't you take a seat on my couch and share your craft? Focus on the future. Reminisce about the past. This segment pinpoints your journey to the top. So make your presence felt before the mic drops. Tap in with me. Hello, everybody. We are back for another episode of the Mic Drop with B. Anderson. And today we are sitting down with a very special guest who I am excited to have on the show. I'm going to turn it over to her and let her introduce herself, and then we'll go from there.
My name is Jamila Wright. I'm a singer, songwriter, producer, composer, motivational speaker, and this is what I like to do.
So with you being a musician, you're a guitarist, a pianist, all those different things. Would you like to play us a little something on your guitar?
I sure would. I wrote this song in 2016 for an aunt of mine, and it ended up being displayed in a spoken word stage play called Coochie Chronicles. It's called Believe in Yourself.
Okay.
I'd always give my all and all. No one would ever appreciate it. No. My life I love, and all the strength from above. No one would ever celebrate it. Where is my brain? I'm going insane, and no one could ever take it. You gotta believe in yourself when nobody sees you. You gotta know your worth. Just priceless, yours true. You gotta feel your spirit. Only you know you are. You gotta believe in yourself. You gotta believe in you. In you. In you. In you. In you.
Man, that was dope. I appreciate you, playing this for me, and then the lyrics that go along with it. Some people may see that you're really good at playing the guitar, and they're like, "Oh man, you're dope," and everything like that. But you have an extra special reason why you play your guitar. Would you like to share that?
I play guitar because I have seizures, and I want to make sure both sides of my body is functioning at all times. It's also a good coping mechanism. Like when you get stressed out and I can't read music, I just kind of sat down one day. You can put an app on your phone to tune a guitar, but sometimes it's hard to follow. I can't follow, like the black and white on the paper might throw me right into a seizure, might cause a panic attack.
Wow.
So just like I started on piano when I was 16, because you can't really find a musician anywhere, especially when you're coming up, everybody wants to be paid, of course.
Right.
So I started out playing like just 2 fingers each hand on the piano. And then as I got older, I just started writing all my own music because I got tired of memorizing everybody else's stuff. And then when I came across the guitar, it's just easier to tote around.
Yeah.
So, and then I like the way I've always wanted to play a harp.
Okay.
So,
okay.
And it reminds me of all that, especially I get to tap and bang. It's like a drum. So you get the vibrations and sounds, and I get to harmonize with the strings.
Man, hey, that is so cool. I mean, you know, the first time that I actually got to hear you was my first time on stage, and last summer. And I mean, it just really blew me away. And I'm like, man, that lady right there is a whole vibe. I need to hear her again. So, you know, I appreciate this being my second opportunity to hear you, and I definitely look forward to more. Why don't you talk to us about, you know, your early start with Irreconcilable Differences?
Irreconcilable Differences was the first spoken word stage play I got pulled into. A friend of mine that was in another stage play with me, she said she was manager over the project, and she said, they're looking for somebody to come in and play a guitar. Can you sing and play your guitar at the same time? And I was still like a ball of nerves, and I would only do open mics every now and again. That's where she had actually saw me at first. And so I was like, yeah, but what song? So we did Jill Scott's Comes to the Light, and then I had to rearrange it because I don't really follow the beat well. It's like somebody said it like, you're a one-woman show, because even when I play with a band, if an entire band picks up my music, it throws me off.
Okay.
So I rearranged it and ended up carrying the entire play. I was a one-woman band. I ended up bringing my keyboard with me and then sitting my guitar in my lap, and I would play like the score. I wrote all the scores for the play, and then I could play a few other songs on my guitar, like Bill Withers' Ain't No Sunshine. Because those were people I always loved to hear guitars sing, and they always ask you who you want to be like or who motivated you to get there. It was actually a blind guitarist named Raul Midon.
Wow.
And I said, Stevie Wonder can play a piano with no sight. And then you have Raul, he comes up and he's tapping and drumming away on this guitar, and he sounds like a one-man band. And so I started researching him. And from then on, I knew I wanted to drum on it. So that's what gave me my drive and passion to get into it.
With being a self-taught musician, how long did it take you to really master the guitar and the piano?
Piano, it didn't take long because I wanted to make that thing sing.
Okay.
I love beautiful melodies. I love music, period. Like, I can hear it in my head and in my sleep, but if you ask me to sit down and play it, I can't do that, but I can make something up off the spot.
Okay.
A lot of open mics I go to, somebody will say, can you play? And I'll be like, yes. And then because I do the drumming thing, they're like, oh yeah, cool, that's cool. I just need a few minutes of it. So that's how you learn to master it. Practice makes perfect. I tell everybody 10 minutes a day. But once you learn to press those strings down and make them ring out, and you start to hear that sound come out, if that alone itself doesn't pull you in, then it's not for you in my mind. But that's how it was. 2 fingers on the piano. I literally would sit down like this, and then I would. Dr. Charles Foes, he was the director at my church, and I would beg him to give me lessons, and he wouldn't do it. So when I was 16 and I started trying to take piano lessons at school, I flunked out of class, like first semester.
Wow. And
I said I didn't want that to discourage me. I used to literally sit, cry, and pray, and then I would attack a keyboard like I'm gonna figure something out. The first song that I wrote, and he heard me playing it in the church after choir rehearsal one day, because my mother was in the adult choir. He said, can I buy that song from you?
Wow.
And I was so distraught because I wanted him to teach me to play. I said no. But he was a mentor of mine. And it was like, it was going downhill in the church because that's where I got all my start, because that's where all the musicians were.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more so everybody is always about a dollar sign. My mother couldn't afford piano lessons, so I would just go in the basement of the church and tinker away.
Okay.
Somebody bought myself, I have a twin brother. They bought us a keyboard to share,
Mm-hmm.
and he just didn't gravitate to it like I did.
Okay.
And then as I got older and my seizures got worse, I needed to do something else. I needed to have something on me all the time versus just every blue moon, or if I go somewhere, because I would go when they had the pianos out in the malls.
Yeah.
That was me sneaking over to play because somebody showed me a few keys of the Furry Lease
Okay.
when I was in high school, and I wrote an entire song from it. And then I started writing the wedding songs for the mock weddings we would have at school.
Mm-hmm.
I went from singing a cappella to writing the music. And then even now, like if I go to an open mic and I have a friend or something, they'll be like, I didn't know you were still doing this, or we didn't know you did that. And it's like, there's really nothing changed. I love music. That's not going anywhere.
Well, so and you spoke on the fact that you needed something that you could do more than just every blue moon. Is that where the guitar came in at?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely came in.
Okay. And with the guitar, because you said with the piano, it didn't take you that long. With the guitar, was that more of a longer process?
It was a longer process because the muscle memory is harder.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have some type of finger stretching exercise, or you don't get in there and do it, it's like if you don't use it, you will lose it.
Okay.
After a while, if you don't get that muscle memory going, it don't matter how much you can make it sing out. Can you sustain those notes?
Gotcha.
Can you play for yourself through an entire song? Can you play for somebody else through a song?
Okay.
Piano, I can play that thing all day because
Mm-hmm.
the keys ain't going nowhere. But this guitar, you might strum the wrong string. Your nail might get caught up. You might not have cut your nails down far enough.
Ah.
It's a lot.
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know so much went into playing the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned earlier that you want to learn how to play the harp.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other instruments outside of that you would like to play? Because it seemed like you can pretty much teach yourself how to do anything.
Violin.
Violin, okay.
Violin and harp is my next venture.
Okay.
I've been saying violin for years because I want an electric violin, because if you tap on it a certain way, you can get that same beat going like I do with the guitar, and then you get that bow going, and I can only imagine what it'll turn into, but that's my next venture.
Well, I definitely look forward to you mastering yet another instrument. I know it's coming. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about motivational speaking. What made you want to be a motivational speaker?
God.
Hey.
Everything about God. Every time I have fallen short and felt the biggest failures, they have been my greatest successes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all because I prayed and asked God first. You can get depressed and down and out, and you can go to parents, you can go to friends, and then they're still going to reroute you, and somebody always tells you to pray about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to have that faith in yourself. If you don't believe in you, who will? So I had a grandmother who basically, we were raised in the church, and I noticed all her hardships, it was always pray about it, pray about it, pray about it. Then my mom turned her life around when I was like 14, and she was like, come on, pray about it, pray about it, pray about it. They would never, if I would sit down and have really deep-seated issues where you really feel like your parents are supposed to be there, everybody don't always have the answer.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was always God. You know, you sit in the quiet, you meditate, you pray. And then once everything calms down, you can see clearer versus staying angry, upset, unmotivated, hopeless, helpless. These are all the feelings that come along with depression, anxiety, and then they turn into mental illnesses where if you don't get a handle on yourself, then you're all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was afraid to be out in public and do music, because you see all these stars and you see all these years that they go, and then all of a sudden they done flipped out and went crazy,
Mm-hmm.
or they're getting killed left and right. So I had a lot of fears before I could actually get out in front of people. So you have to find some type of balance, and you have to have some type of faith in yourself, or else you'll just be afraid to move forward.
And I believe you when you talk about that, because from my experiences with you, you are always talking about positivity, positive this, positive that, and I love it so much. And when you say God, that just, I mean, it sums up everything. I mean, that's it. That's all right there. But with you being a motivational speaker, a guitarist, a pianist, a spoken word artist, a poet, and all of these things like that, which one did you fall in love with first?
I've been writing poetry since I was in elementary school. First poem I ever wrote was called "What is a Black Mother?" and it was published in Young Authors Anthology, because my 6th grade teacher felt like it was so good that they had submitted it and I didn't even know. They just kind of handed me a book and said congratulations, and I was like, oh wow.
What inspired that piece?
My grandmother. My mother and them sat me down. It was Mother's Day and they wanted to do something special, and my mother knew I had been writing a lot of poetry. Probably at that point a couple of years, and the teachers kept telling her like she got a lot to say. So when I wrote it, it was basically about my grandmother and all her strengths. Like she never showed her weaknesses. Always had a smile, no matter how much pain she had in her body. Always had a meal for everybody. She raised 9 children. 6 girls, 3 boys, pretty much on her own. And she reared an entire community behind that, and was just always respected. It didn't matter. I never really heard anything bad about my grandmother. I always heard good things. She took care of this one, that one, the other. And then my mother and all her siblings, they know when to come together. And you can see her teachings and her legacy. Even to this day, you can tell where everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and you can tell where, boom, she right there in it. So it was something powerful. It was a way to give back, and it kind of pushed me forward in my writing.
Okay, I love it. With you being a singer, songwriter, you play instruments, you do these different things. When is the album dropping? That's the real question. When the album coming out?
That's what everybody keeps asking me. I am working diligently to get this together. I have music that I went to California and recorded last year just because somebody was like, we want to put you in a professional studio. And it's just like, but it's all the rigmarole in between. So right now it's all about getting everything in the right place and spaces and getting it to the right people. So please don't think that I'm not trying to get it out, but I do love my live shows. I love open mics. Like, I like the humble side of everything. Not in a rush, because I feel like you might have just heard about me here, but I've been doing this for years at this point, and some of the stuff is timeless. And then I'm coming out with new stuff because I'm growing. So once I do get this final product ready, which I'm hoping and praying before the end of this year, hopefully before the end of the summer, that's we're gonna manifest that into fruition here. But that's the goal.
Well, once that album drops, we definitely gonna have to have you back on the show to talk about this, because I'm loving it. This is the part of the show where I ask Jamila some miscellaneous questions, and so let's get into that. With you being a motivational speaker, if you saw a young lady or young man who really had aspirations of being a poet, but they were nervous about getting on stage, what advice would you give them?
Get up there anyway. Don't stop, no matter how much fear you got inside your soul. You don't know who needs to hear those words. You don't know who you're getting ready to inspire, heal, touch, or motivate to do something better than what they were doing before that moment. Most poets, they get up on the mic, I'm all for it. I will come, I'll be there before everybody, and then stay to the end just to speak to a lot of people and say, wow, you touched me. Wow, I needed that. Wow, I was about to quit. So definitely just don't stop. Get it out there. Even if you feel like it's the dumbest thing you could have wrote down on a piece of paper, you don't know who is in that audience or in your presence that needed you to shed some light on their life.
I love it. I love it, man. I wish we could have talked before I went on stage, man. That's a good pep talk.
But you did good.
Thank you. If you can narrow your principles down into 3 words, what would they be?
That's a hard one. My principles, 3 words. I got 1 word.
Okay.
God.
God, hey.
You keep God first in your life and you will be number 1, period. Because you could plan out everything for the next 10 years and won't nothing go your way.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my stuff is that vibe that everybody see. That's my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go on that, like my metronome is my heartbeat. You put me in the studio, all right, we have more problems in the studio trying to get me to record, especially if I got to play the guitar first.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put me on the stage with a room full of good people,
Mm-hmm.
it's like being in a room full of friends.
Yeah. That's why this is the mic drop, man, because that's it, that's all, man. I love it so much. You a whole vibe, and this has been great. Where can if someone is enjoying this interview, where can they find you next? Where will you be?
We'll be at Miss E's Plants and Poetry on March 27th. That's the next thing I got going. Everything else is scheduled a little bit later, and it'll be out of state. I think my next one after that is St. Louis so far.
Okay, so so that people can keep in touch with you and things, and they can know what you're doing next, where can they tap in with you on social media?
I'm on Instagram, beautiful007-365, and I'm on Facebook under Jamila Wright.
Hey, I love it. Well, this has been a mic drop with B. Anderson, and I appreciate you all tuning in. More exclusive content to come, and make sure y'all tap in with this lady right here, Miss Jamila Wright. This has been a mic drop with B. Anderson. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and comment on it, and subscribe to my channel for more exclusive content like this.